Lieutenant James Harrison had seen his share of horrors during the colonial wars, but nothing prepared him for the day the stars fell silent. On New Eden, their agricultural colony 17 light-years from Earth, silence meant death. The Vraxians came during the summer solstice festival. Their ships, obsidian pyramids that drank in light rather than reflecting it, appeared without warning above the settlement's main square. Harrison stood at his security post, watching helplessly as the first crystalline nets descended from the sky, scooping up screaming colonists like fish in a trawler. They were beautiful, in a terrifying way. 12 feet tall, with iridescent scales that shifted between deep violet and emerald green, moving with a grace that belied their massive size. Their eyes glowed with bioluminescent rings, and their mathematically perfect movements spoke of technological advancement far beyond human understanding. But it wasn't their technology that made Harrison's blood run cold. It was their laughter. "Look how they scatter," one of them called out in perfect English, its voice resonating like crystal wind chimes. "Such delightful unpredictability. This batch will make excellent sport." From his hidden position in the colony's emergency bunker, Harrison watched through security feeds as the Vraxians turned their settlement into a hunting ground. They deployed floating orbs that created holographic mazes, herding people into kill zones while recording everything for what appeared to be some twisted form of entertainment. "Magnificent specimen," another Vraxian declared, examining a captured colonist through something resembling a monocle. "The endocrine response alone will make this one worth triple points in the Great Hunt standings." Harrison's fingers tightened around his pulse rifle as he documented everything. The way they moved, their equipment, their habits. Most importantly, their mistakes. Because they were making plenty of them, even if they didn't realize it. They didn't sweep for underground bunkers, assuming human technology was too primitive to shield life signs. They didn't secure their communications, broadcasting their hunting strategies openly. And most critically, they didn't count their kills properly. Over the next 72 hours, Harrison led small groups of survivors through the maintenance tunnels he'd insisted on building, much to the Colony Council's previous annoyance. His paranoid security protocols, once mocked, now saved lives. Each rescued colonist brought new information about their hunters. The Vraxians called themselves the ultimate predators. They traveled the galaxy seeking new species to hunt, recording their games for entertainment back on their homeworld. Humanity was their latest discovery, and apparently, we were causing quite a stir in their hunting circles. Such remarkable adaptability, one Vraxian commented while reviewing footage of a failed capture attempt. "Notice how they've already learned to mask their heat signatures with the local flora. Most species take at least 3 hunting cycles to develop such tactics." Harrison smiled grimly as he added another note to his growing database. They were so focused on their prey's heat signatures that they completely missed the old-fashioned motion sensors he planted throughout the colony. On the 4th day, when the Vraxian hunting party finally departed with their trophies and recordings, they believed they'd captured or killed everyone except for a few scattered survivors who'd fled into the wilderness. Their final count showed 843 confirmed kills or captures. They were off by 172. In the underground command center he transformed into a war room, Harrison looked at the faces of the survivors he'd managed to save. Farmers, teachers, engineers, ordinary people thrust into an extraordinary situation. But he saw something else in their eyes now. Something that the Vraxians, for all their advanced technology and evolutionary superiority, had failed to recognize. "They think this is a game," Harrison addressed the gathered survivors, his voice steady despite the rage burning in his chest. "They see us as entertainment, as points on a scoreboard. But they've made a crucial mistake." He activated the main display, showing the massive amount of data they'd gathered about their attackers. "They forgot that humans started as prey animals too. We spent millions of years learning to outsmart bigger, stronger predators. And now," he smiled, but there was no warmth in it, "now we're going to teach them why that was their last mistake." Among the survivors was Dr. Reese Palmer, a xenobiologist who'd spent years studying predator species on distant worlds. She stepped forward, her face illuminated by the holographic displays of Vraxian biological data they'd managed to scan during the attacks. "Their technology is advanced," she said, pointing to various anatomical weaknesses they'd observed. "But their thinking is primitive. They hunt because they believe it proves their superiority. They never stop to consider that each hunt teaches their prey how to kill them." Harrison nodded, thinking of all the subtle weaknesses he'd observed. The way their cloaking technology flickered when exposed to certain frequencies of light. How their crystalline nets could be shorted out by simple electromagnetic pulses. Most importantly, how their arrogance made them predictable. "We're not going to just survive this," Harrison declared, looking at each survivor in turn. "We're going to make them regret ever thinking humanity would make good sport, because they don't understand what they've started." He pulled up a star chart showing suspected Vraxian hunting grounds across the galaxy. "They think they're recording their greatest hunts. Instead, they're giving us a training manual and class." His eyes hardened as he remembered the sounds of their laughter while they hunted his people. Class is now in session. 6 months after the New Eden massacre, Harrison stood before the United Earth Defense Council, his presentation displaying the grim statistics of 17 more colony attacks. But this time, he wasn't just sharing bad news. "The Vraxians are methodical," he explained, gesturing to a holographic map showing attack patterns. "They don't just hunt, they perform for an audience. Every kill is broadcast live to their entertainment networks. And that's their weakness." The council chamber was silent as he played intercepted footage from the latest Vraxian hunt. The alien's own broadcasting system had become humanity's greatest intelligence asset. "They're creatures of ritual," Dr. Palmer added, stepping forward. After New Eden, she'd become the leading expert on Vraxian biology. "Their hunts follow specific patterns. They announce their presence, deploy their maze-makers, and then begin what they call the grand chase. It's not just hunting, it's theater." Harrison nodded to a tech officer who activated the next display. 3 weeks ago, on the colony of Novaterra, we tested our first countermeasures. The results were instructive. The footage showed a Vraxian hunting party approaching a seemingly defenseless settlement. But this time, something was different. When they deployed their crystalline nets, the entire area erupted in a carefully calculated electromagnetic pulse. "Their technology is advanced," Harrison continued, allowing himself a small smile. "But it's also delicate. Those nets cost more than an entire colony ship. When the pulse hit, it didn't just disable their equipment. It broadcasted their failure to their entire entertainment network." Dr. Palmer brought up biological scans taken during the attack. Their adrenal response was fascinating. They experience shame much more intensely than humans do. A public failure doesn't just embarrass them, it physically pains them. The council members leaned forward as the footage showed the Vraxian hunters retreating, their usually perfect formations broken, their confident swagger replaced by what could only be described as panic. "But that's not the best part," Harrison said, his voice taking on an edge of satisfaction. "Watch their broadcast feeds." The displays showed multiple channels of Vraxian entertainment networks, all discussing the failed hunt. Their ratings were soaring. The Great Hunt, once a display of Vraxian superiority, had become something unprecedented, a show where the prey might win. "They can't stop broadcasting," Dr. Palmer explained. "The hunts are too deeply embedded in their culture. Even their failures must be shown. And every time they fail, more of their weaknesses are revealed to us." Harrison brought up another display, this one showing modified human weapons and armor. "We've learned more about their technology by watching their entertainment channels than we ever could through conventional intelligence gathering. Their hunters love to boast about their equipment. Every specification, every weakness, broadcast for anyone patient enough to watch." A council member raised her hand. "How many colonies have we fortified with these countermeasures?" "Not enough," Harrison admitted. "But we're not just playing defense anymore." He activated the final display. showing a massive facility under construction on Mars' southern pole. Welcome to the Hunters Academy. We're taking everything we've learned and creating a force specifically designed to counter Vraxian hunting tactics. They want entertainment. We'll give them a show they'll never forget. The footage shifted to training exercises, where human soldiers practiced with reverse-engineered Vraxian technology. Former colonists, survivors of previous hunts, served as instructors, teaching others how to turn simple farming tools and mining equipment into anti-Vraxian weapons. Their hunts follow rules, Harrison explained. Rules we can exploit. They must announce their presence. They must give prey a sporting chance. They must broadcast everything. So we're going to use their own rules against them. Dr. Palmer highlighted a particular training sequence. We've discovered that their neural architecture is particularly susceptible to certain frequencies of sound. Their superior senses become a weakness when properly exploited. Every advantage they thought they had over us can be turned against them. The council chamber erupted in discussion, but Harrison wasn't finished. He brought up one final display, a map of suspected Vraxian hunting lodges across the galaxy. They'd been recording their hunts for centuries, building a massive entertainment empire around the suffering of other species. But they've also been recording their vulnerabilities, their patterns, their weaknesses. Every broadcast is a lesson in how to destroy them. A council member spoke up. "You're not just talking about defense, are you, Lieutenant?" Harrison's expression hardened. They wanted to hunt humans for sport. Fine, but they're about to learn that humans don't stay prey for long. We're going to take everything they've taught us about hunting and show them why Earth's history is full of extinct apex predators. Dr. Palmer brought up the biological scans again. They believe they're superior because they're predators. But they've forgotten something crucial about Earth's predators. They all evolved alongside prey that was constantly learning to kill them. The Hunters Academy will be operational within 3 months, Harrison concluded. And then, he smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Then we're going hunting. The council chamber was silent for a long moment before the head counselor spoke. What do you need from us, Lieutenant? Harrison's response was immediate. Everything. Because this isn't just about survival anymore. We're going to make them regret ever thinking humanity would make good sport. And we're going to broadcast every second of it on their own networks. As the council session ended, Dr. Palmer approached Harrison. They don't understand what they've started, do they? Harrison watched the displays showing Vraxian hunters celebrating their latest victories, completely unaware of what was coming. No, he said quietly. But they will. The Vraxian hunting lodge on Proxima Centauri's third moon was considered one of their most prestigious venues. Its crystalline spires housed thousands of trophies from hundreds of species. Tonight, it would host its last hunt. Commander Harrison, no longer a lieutenant, stood in the shadow of a cliff face watching the lodge through modified binoculars. Beside him, Dr. Palmer monitored biological signatures through equipment reverse-engineered from Vraxian technology. Their annual Grand Hunt broadcast begins in 30 minutes, she whispered. 17 hunting parties are preparing to depart. Estimated audience, over 8 billion Vraxians. Harrison nodded. Perfect. Time to give them a show they'll never forget. Throughout the moon's canyons and valleys, 200 graduates of the Hunters Academy waited in perfect stillness. They wore armor crafted from captured Vraxian technology, modified to exploit the aliens' sensory weaknesses. Each soldier carried weapons designed specifically for this moment. First broadcast starting, Dr. Palmer reported. On their screens, they watched as the Vraxian Huntmaster, a towering figure named Krixvor, began the traditional opening ceremony. Esteemed viewers, the alien's resonant voice boomed across the entertainment networks. Welcome to the 700th Grand Hunt. Today's prey species shows remarkable promise. The humans. The Huntmaster's speech cut off abruptly as every light in the lodge went dark. When they came back on, they pulsed with a specific frequency that Harrison's team had discovered caused severe disorientation in Vraxian neural systems. What is this? Krixvor demanded, his scales shifting colors rapidly in distress. Security protocols. Welcome, Harrison's voice echoed through the lodge's own broadcast system, to tonight's entertainment. The reaction was immediate. Vraxian hunters rushed to their ships, only to find them completely disabled. Others reached for their weapons, but found their targeting systems compromised. For centuries, Harrison continued, his voice reaching every Vraxian watching across the galaxy, you've hunted other species for sport. You've treated their deaths as entertainment. Tonight, we're changing the program. Across the moon's surface, Harrison's soldiers emerged from hiding. They moved with precision that matched the Vraxians' own, but with something the aliens had never expected. Strategic innovation born from centuries of human military experience. Your first mistake, Harrison narrated as his teams systematically disabled the lodge's defenses, was thinking that technology alone makes a superior hunter. The cameras, still broadcasting everything as Vraxian law required, showed the chaos unfolding inside the lodge. Hunting parties found themselves herded into kill zones by the same maze-making technology they'd used on countless prey species. Your second mistake, he continued as special teams breached the lodge's trophy halls, was keeping recordings of every hunt you've ever conducted. Thank you for the detailed intelligence. Dr. Palmer's voice joined the broadcast. Did you know that your neural architecture has exactly 7 major vulnerabilities? We counted. Would you like to experience them all? The Vraxian audience, legally required to watch the broadcast, witnessed something unprecedented, their ultimate hunters becoming prey. Harrison's teams moved through the lodge with ruthless efficiency, using everything they'd learned from studying Vraxian hunts. Every tactic the aliens had used against humans was turned against them, refined, and improved. But your greatest mistake, Harrison said, as his soldiers cornered Krixvor in his private chamber, was assuming that humans would remain prey. The Huntmaster, his scales now a pale shade of fear, faced Harrison directly. This is barbaric. We gave our prey sporting chances. We followed the sacred rules of the hunt. Harrison smiled. We are. That's why we announced our presence. That's why we're broadcasting this. That's why we're giving you exactly what you gave others, a chance to experience being prey. The operation took exactly 3 hours. When it was over, the most prestigious Vraxian hunting lodge in the sector had been completely dismantled. Its trophies were destroyed, its hunting parties captured, and most importantly, everything had been broadcast live to the entire Vraxian Empire. Consider this a formal notice. Harrison announced to the billions of watching Vraxians, humanity is no longer your prey. But if you insist on continuing these hunts, he paused, letting them see the destroyed lodge behind him. Well, we've learned so much from watching your broadcasts. It would be a shame not to put that knowledge to use. As his teams withdrew, carrying with them terabytes of Vraxian hunting data and technology, Dr. Palmer approached Harrison. Their entertainment networks are in chaos. Ratings are higher than they've ever been. Harrison watched the sun rise over the crystalline ruins of the lodge. Good, because this was just the pilot episode. Across Vraxian space, for the first time in their history, the hunters began to feel what it meant to be hunted. And on their entertainment networks, a new kind of show was just beginning. One where humanity wasn't the prey. They had wanted entertainment. Now they would have it, whether they wanted it or not. The Vraxian High Council chamber was in chaos. For the first time in their recorded history, hunting ratings were plummeting. Across their empire, entertainment networks scrambled to explain how their most prestigious hunting lodge had been turned into a graveyard of their own pride. High Hunter Zexnar, supreme leader of the Vraxian Hunting Authority, watched the replay for the 100th time. The human attack had been perfect, not just in its execution, but in its theatricality. They hadn't just defeated the hunters, they'd humiliated them on their own broadcast networks. 2 more lodges have gone dark, his aide reported, scales shifting anxiously. The humans, they're using our own hunting schedules against us. They know exactly where we'll be and when. Of course they do, Zexnar hissed. We've been broadcasting it openly for centuries. He brought up the latest intelligence reports. Across the galaxy, human strike teams were systematically dismantling hunting operations, always making sure to use the Vraxians' own broadcast systems to show their victories. In his private chambers, Zexnar received an unexpected transmission. The human commander, Harrison, appeared on his personal screen. Quite the ratings drop you're experiencing, Harrison said casually. Turns out audiences don't enjoy watching their champions become prey. What do you want? Zexnar demanded, his ceremonial hunting claws extending involuntarily. Want? I want you to keep broadcasting. Keep showing your people what happens when they hunt humans. Every lodge we take down, every hunter we capture. It's all going on your networks. You made entertainment out of hunting us. Now we're returning the favor. On another screen, Zexnar watched as another hunting lodge fell. The humans had turned their attack into a macabre performance art, using the Vraxians' own dramatic traditions against them. They announced their presence with ancient human hunting horns. They gave their targets sporting chances, just as Vraxian law required. And they narrated everything with the same showmanship the Vraxians had once used to describe their human hunts. Your species cannot comprehend the dishonor you bring upon us, Zexnar growled. Dishonor, Harrison's voice turned cold. Was it honorable to hunt colonists during festivals? To make sport of killing farmers and children? No, High Hunter. We understand honor perfectly. That's why we're beating you at your own game. The transmission ended, leaving Zexnar alone with the sounds of his empire's entertainment networks broadcasting their own humiliation. His personal communication device chimed. Another lodge had fallen. Dr. Palmer's voice now filled the Vraxian broadcasts. Notice the beautiful iridescence of a Vraxian's scales when they realize they're trapped. Such magnificent prey species, don't you think? The way they try to maintain their dignity even as they run. The humans had learned well. Too well. They hadn't just studied Vraxian hunting techniques. They'd understood the cultural significance of the broadcasts. Every defeat was choreographed to inflict maximum psychological damage on the viewing audience. In the High Council chamber, debates raged about ending the hunts entirely. But they couldn't. The broadcasts were too deeply woven into their society. Hunting wasn't just sport, it was the foundation of their civilization. To stop would be to admit that they were no longer the galaxy's apex predators. They're moving toward the Central Hunting Academy, his aide reported nervously. Our most sacred training ground. Zexnar's scales shifted to the deep purple of rage. The humans weren't just winning. They were systematically dismantling everything the Vraxians had built. Each victory was a carefully staged performance, designed to show the galaxy that the great hunters could be hunted. In his fury, Zexnar made the decision that would seal his species' fate. Prepare my personal hunting vessel, he commanded. If these humans want to challenge the greatest hunter in Vraxian history, I will give them a hunt they'll never forget. As his ship prepared for departure, Zexnar received one final transmission from Harrison. We were hoping you'd do that. The audience has been waiting for the season final. Across human space, Harrison watched the High Hunter's ship depart. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. The Vraxians' pride would bring them exactly where humanity wanted them. Final phase is ready, Dr. Palmer reported. The stage is set. Harrison nodded, thinking of all the colonies the Vraxians had hunted, all the lives they'd taken for entertainment. Good. Time to bring this show to a close. The Central Hunting Academy of the Vraxian Empire hung in space like a massive obsidian crown, its crystalline spires glinting in the light of 3 suns. For 10,000 years, it had stood as the ultimate symbol of Vraxian supremacy. Today, it would become their greatest lesson. High Hunter Zexnar's ship docked at the Academy's primary bay, joined by the remnants of his most elite hunting parties. They had come to make their final stand against the humans who had dared to turn their sacred hunting grounds into scenes of Vraxian defeat. But Harrison's forces were already inside. Their pride makes them predictable, Harrison said softly, watching from the Academy's own security center. His teams had infiltrated the facility weeks ago, using techniques learned from countless Vraxian broadcasts. They believe we'll attack from the outside, make another grand spectacle. Dr. Palmer monitored the biological signatures of the arriving Vraxian forces. They're broadcasting live to every entertainment network in their empire. Estimated audience, 12 billion. Perfect. Harrison opened a channel to his scattered teams. Remember your training. They expect a direct confrontation. Instead, we're going to give them something they've never seen before, the truth. As Zexnar gathered his forces in the Academy's Grand Hall, the facility's massive display screens flickered to life. But instead of showing tactical displays or security feeds, they began playing something else entirely. The unedited footage from every human colony the Vraxians had hunted. Welcome to the final broadcast. Harrison's voice echoed through the Academy. Tonight's entertainment. Reality. The screens showed children running from Vraxian hunters, families torn apart, communities destroyed for sport. But interspersed with these scenes were others, footage of Earth's history, showing humanity's long journey from prey to predator. You thought you were teaching us about hunting. Harrison continued as his teams moved silently through the Academy's shadows. Instead, you reminded us of something we'd almost forgotten. The displays showed early humans' persistence hunting larger prey, crafting tools, developing strategies. Each scene was a stark reminder of humanity's own evolutionary path. We didn't start as apex predators. Dr. Palmer's voice joined the broadcast. We became them. And now, we're going to show you how. Zexnar roared in fury, ordering his hunters to find and destroy the humans. But as they moved through the Academy's corridors, they found themselves caught in a hunt unlike any they'd experienced. Harrison's forces had turned the entire facility into a giant trap, using every lesson they'd learned from studying Vraxian hunts. Each corridor became a kill zone. Every chamber held a new form of human ingenuity turned lethal. Your mistake, Harrison narrated as his teams systematically isolated and neutralized the Vraxian hunters, was thinking that superior physical evolution made you better hunters. But hunting isn't about being the strongest. The Academy's own security systems, reprogrammed by Harrison's tech teams, began herding the Vraxians toward the central chamber. Every moment was broadcast live across their empire. Hunting is about understanding your prey, Dr. Palmer added. About adaptation. About turning weakness into strength. Something humanity has been practicing for millions of years. In the Grand Hall, Zexnar found himself alone, surrounded by Harrison's forces. The screens above showed his hunters being systematically captured or neutralized, their supposedly superior abilities rendered useless by human strategic innovation. You wanted entertainment. Harrison stepped out of the shadows, facing the High Hunter directly. Here's the final you never expected, the day the prey evolved. Zexnar lunged with his ceremonial hunting claws, but Harrison was ready. The fight was brief, decisive, and broadcast in perfect clarity to every Vraxian watching across the galaxy. As the High Hunter lay defeated, Harrison addressed the billions watching. Consider this the end of your hunting season. Permanently, humanity is now offering your empire a choice. Evolve beyond your hunting obsession, or become part of the evolutionary process yourselves. Dr. Palmer stepped forward, adding, We're releasing all the data we've gathered about your species to every race you've ever hunted. Your weaknesses, your technological vulnerabilities, your biological limitations, everything. The galaxy's prey species send their regards. The Central Hunting Academy, symbol of Vraxian supremacy for 10 millennia, was transformed that day into a monument to their greatest failure. But more importantly, it became a lesson that echoed across the galaxy. The most dangerous prey is the one that learns to hunt back. In the aftermath, as human forces secured the facility, Dr. Palmer approached Harrison. Their entertainment networks are in complete meltdown. The ratings are astronomical. Harrison watched as the Vraxian Empire came to terms with its new reality. Good. Let them watch. Let them learn what humanity has always known. True survival isn't about being the strongest predator. He turned to leave the academy, but paused at the threshold. It's about being the most adaptable prey. The end.